back to Cody Talks NFL, presented by Blitzalytics.com. And here's your host, Cody Manning. And here we go.
There we go. Welcome into Cody Talks NFL. Sorry about a little bit delayed, guys. I'm still trying to get the intro down. Me and Rob have been joking about that right before we got on. But yeah, welcome into Cody Talks NFL. It's week 8, guys. We're basically halfway through the season. 9 more weeks to go, and then we got the playoffs. Let's hope we don't have to extend the season. We'll see how that goes over the next couple months. But again, I want to welcome you guys back in. This is just going to be like every episode that you've had this year. But in case we do have any new listeners, I always like to make sure that they know what's going on. How this works is I'm going to recap really quick the Thursday night football game that we saw last night between the Falcons and the Panthers. Then I will go ahead and go over the bye teams if there's any relevant news that came out over this past week. And then I go ahead and preview all the Sunday games, the 1 p.m. games. I start with them. Then I move on to the 4 p.m. games, Sunday night football, and then Monday night football. And then, of course, if you are watching this live, you can always get in the comment section. And Rob is usually in there if he's being interactive, or he will collect some questions for me, and I can answer those at the end of the episode. It could be football questions, or even if you are, fans of me and Rob from the Fantasy Voyage, you want some fantasy football questions answered, I will get to those at the end. Let's go ahead and dive into this really quick. We saw the Falcons get their second win last night. They beat the Panthers 25-17. As far as like news from the last night's game, as we saw in the first half, Calvin Ridley, the star wide receiver for the Falcons, he had to leave the game with a foot injury. X-rays came back on that. They were negative. It's not believed that injury is serious. They are going to have a MRI to confirm that. And as a Calvin Ridley stan and a fantasy football owner, of course, I hope this Ridley foot injury doesn't hold him out for a long period of time. And then let's look at last night's game. The Falcons, their passing offense between Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, they are just picking apart that young Panthers defense. That Panthers defense, they got a lot of bright spots, between Jeremy Chin, who I'm going to talk about here soon. Derek Brown was flashing last night. They still got Shaq Thompson, Dante Jackson, but they still got a lot of holes to fill in that defense, and they need to gain more experience. You could tell that Matt Ryan kind of knew where he needed to put the ball throughout the day, and they were just moving the ball on the ground with Brian Hill was actually looking like he had some more juice last night, but Todd Gurley also had about 50 yards and a touchdown. But yeah, the Falcons team, I think I want to say it was Jack, maybe Bourgeois, that we talked about on the Football Happy Hour. He said it best, that this is going to be a team that has the talent to beat you on any given week, so you have to come prepared to play. And they just caught the Panthers slipping last night. As far as Atlanta, though, they're still 2-5. They're going to be a spoiler team going forward. The Panthers, they're now 3-5 after last night's loss. After they had a strong start to the season, and I just want to give kudos to Matt Rule. I mean, most people thought they would have a worse record than 3-5. 8 games into the season. So he's coaching the hell out of that roster. That team needs a lot of talent. It's just not their time yet. They still need some holes to fill. And they're missing Christian McCaffrey, but they need to improve their offensive line. They need to get some better linebackers on that team and just get more experience with their young guys. They're going to be a team that's always going to be, though, in games, I think, going forward, and they could beat any team on any given week. Now, as always, guys, the Blitzalytics Prospect Encyclopedia, we push this on every show of ours. And for my personal show, if you're a new listener, I give out the Blitzalytics Prospect Encyclopedia Player of Thursday Night Football. Typically, I do try to lean towards the winning team, try to find a player on there. But I couldn't ignore that this guy had the better night than any of them. I mean, there were some guys like Hayden Hurst. He had a good night. I know he had over 50 yards on 5 receptions. Foy Olakon, their middle linebacker, he was making some splash plays last night. But when you look at the stat line, when you look at the performance, I thought this guy definitely deserved the award this week, and that's Jeremy Chin. For the Panthers, he was number 21. Their young safety they drafted in the second round this past draft. He was the number 6 prospect for the Panthers. That was written by Jacob Patterson. And his stat line for last night, he had 10 tackles, 6 of those were solo. He had a pass deflection, he had a quarterback hit, and then the Panthers, they ran a fake punt and they direct snapped it to him, and he got a gain of 28 yards, which led to a Panthers field goal. He's been impressive the whole year. I know the NFL just awarded him the Defensive Rookie of the Month for October. So he's having a great month, and he just capped off his month with a very solid performance on the field last night. As always, I like to kind of give you a preview. It's cool with these books, guys. You know, if you're like a prospect number 2 through 8, you kind of get a bigger section, strength, weaknesses, and overview. And what I do is for whoever wins the award, I read the overview section for you guys. This is what Jacob Patterson wrote about Jeremy Chinn. He said, at first glance, Chinn looks like a linebacker. He's chiseled, muscular frame makes him a very large safety and clearly indicates his playing style. Eric Reed departed for free agency, and Chinn was drafted to fill his role. He should start immediately, but his best years are still ahead of him as he has plenty of work to do in coverage. Expect to see Chinn making plays all over the field each week. Perfect spot on, overview section for Jeremy Chinn by Jacob. He was, I think, my number 6 safety on the class. Maybe I should have been higher on him, but I know our boy Roy Countryman, he was the one that was really into him as a prospect. Again, though, guys, you want this book, you want to read up about these players, the future stars in the league, go to blitzalytics.com/shop. You can order this for only $35. If you're not a physical copy reader, you can always get the PDF for only $15. Read it on your tablet. You just want a taste of it, or just kind of read about your favorite team, just you can order an individual team PDF for $5. So again, Blitzalytics Prospect Encyclopedia. Get to know the up and coming stars in the league. All right, guys, let's go ahead and keep this moving though. As I mentioned, next section, I'm going to go into the bye teams. Let's see here. We have 4 teams on bye this week. We got the Washington football team. A little news note that came out. Dwayne Haskins, it sounds like the relationship between him and Ron Rivera is not repairable. He's expected to be traded now or later. So if he doesn't get traded by Tuesday, he probably will be shifted to a new team at some point during the offseason. And if you did miss Kenyon Drake, the Cardinals running back, he's been placed on IR. He's expected to miss some time. Then this came out yesterday, which maybe kind of explains why Gardner Minshew has really sailed some of his deep balls the past few weeks. But Gardner Minshew has multiple fractures and a sprained ligament in his right thumb. They didn't mention if that's going to cause him to miss any time. If that does cause him to miss any time, we're looking at Mike Glennon potentially being a starting quarterback again. Or they do have Jake Luton, a rookie quarterback out of Oregon State. So maybe they give him a shot to evaluate him going forward. And then the last team is the Houston Texans. It's been reported. There's a lot of trade news I got in here, and most of this trade, I know Dwayne Haskins, I believe that was Jeremy Fowler, and then most of this trade news, guys, I'm gonna talk about in this episode was from Albert Breer. I do want to give the guys credit. And he reported that potential fire sales happen in Houston. He said that the report is that everyone could be traded on that team outside of Deshaun Watson, J.J. Watt, Laramie Tunsil, and Titus Howard. I understand the tackles and Watson, but I know J.J. Watt's like a big brand name for the Texans franchise, but come on, let's save JJ, trade him to a contender. But yeah, that's all the news for the bye teams, guys. I'm going to just get a quick drink of coffee, and I'm going to dive into these 1 p.m. games for you. All right, so first game. This is a game I don't understand why we're not getting it on Sunday Night Football. I know none of us outside of Dallas or Philadelphia want to watch this week's Sunday Night Football game, and we got a classic AFC North rival matchup that I don't understand why it's not on primetime TV. So let's go ahead and get into this. We got Pittsburgh going against the Ravens on Sunday. This is in Baltimore. A little news note that actually came out this morning right before I got on. Right before we went on live, is Ronnie Stanley, their left tackle. He agreed to for the Baltimore. He agreed to a 5-year extension worth $112 million dollars, 112,866,000 max total value. He's going to get a little over $70 million in total guarantees, much deserved. He's a cog to that offensive line, and he'll be blocking for Lamar Jackson's blind side now for the rest of his career. Now let's go ahead and look into these injury reports. As far as the Pittsburgh Steelers, these three players have not practiced this week. Jordan Dangerfield with a quadriceps, Chris Wormley with a knee, Ulysses Gilbert with a back, and then Mike Hilton has been limited with a shoulder, but I did see a report last night. It sounds like he might not play for them this week. That's a huge loss for the secondary if he does not give it a go. And then Derek Watt has been limited with a hamstring. And then on the Baltimore side, Mark Ingram has not practiced this week with his ankle injury. Jimmy Smith has not practiced with an Achilles, and then Anthony Levine has been limited with a abdomen. Man, I cannot wait to see how this game plays out. It feels like we're going to get a classic defensive battle, physical matchup between Baltimore and Pittsburgh. Yeah, I can't wait to see this offensive line and the Lamar and the running game. They're going to be out with well, we'll see, but it does based on the injury report, we might not see Mark Ingram this week. So we're going to either see the rookie J.K. Dobbins or Gus Edwards try to take on that strong defensive front of Pittsburgh. That's going to be probably where that matchup, where this matchup is in the trenches. Can they get the run game established? And then also they do need to take shots against this Pittsburgh secondary. They have been known for giving up big plays, big passing plays. This is a perfect game for maybe a Marquise Brown blow-up spot. Get Mark Andrews involved and maybe some of the other wide receivers within the offense. So if they can win in the trenches and they can just pick them apart through the air, they're going to be able to find ways to score throughout the afternoon. But, it is Pittsburgh's defense. They know this team. I expect that they will make some plays and stall some drives as well. But I think Baltimore has the capability of putting up, around 3+ touchdowns on this Pittsburgh defense. And then you switch sides of the ball. Pittsburgh's offense, when they're hot, they're hot. But then we saw like last week when they jumped out to that big lead on Tennessee, but then, Big Ben started making interceptions, bad decisions, forcing throws. So that's what they cannot do in this matchup because they got an also tough matchup. You got Pittsburgh's line going against now a defensive front that's added Yannick Ngakoue. So he's going to be able to enhance the pass rush of Baltimore. So they just got to keep Big Ben upright. They got to give him time to be able to throw the ball. But if that defensive front can get to Big Ben more times than not, then they're going to be able to force him off his feet where he can't deliver his throws, and that leads to those interceptions that we saw last week. But the way Pittsburgh can do this, though, is if they can maybe get a nice, healthy dose of James Conner and Benny Snell and kind of try to wear down that defensive front. Maybe I'm not saying establish the run at the beginning of the game. I'm not trying to be one of those old school coaches, but they need to maybe open up with some pass, but then pick them apart in the running game. Maybe get Chase Claypool going on some end arounds, and they just need to try to wear down this Baltimore defense and then really kind of take it to in the second half. But yeah, I really do. I believe both these teams are where they're like, both offenses have the capability of putting 3+ touchdowns against these great defenses, but these defenses are more than capable of stalling these offenses. It's going to be a back and forth battle. It's going to come down to the fourth quarter. This is going to be one of those games that come down to who has the ball last, I believe, in the final 2 minutes. I could see either team winning, but I do believe this is a season series that will be split no matter who wins this weekend. So with that being said, Baltimore's the home team. I'll always lean to the home team. I know I don't think Baltimore has fans quite yet. I think they're one of the few teams that are still not allowing fans in, but I'll still go with the home team in Baltimore. They kick a field goal. They got the best kicker in the league in Justin Tucker. He nails like some 47-yard field goal to win a 31-28 matchup over Pittsburgh. So I am going to hide from Roy Countryman over the weekend because he'll probably be upset that I picked the Ravens over his Steelers. So let's go into the next matchup. And I said this to Rob before, and if anybody's been listening to this all year, I can't believe they're doing the Rams dirty like this on all their away matchups on the East Coast. We got the Rams traveling out to Miami. Like I told Rob, I'm pretty sure all of their East Coast games has started at this 1 p.m. slot. As I've said in the past, typically West Coast teams that play in this time slot typically start slow at least, or they do struggle throughout the most of the afternoon. But let's go ahead. No news updates on either team. Let's go with the injury reports. Tyler Higbee, he has been limited with a hand injury this week. And then on the Dolphins side, Jakeem Grant did not practice with an illness. And then these following players have been limited. Bobby McCain with an ankle, Devontae Parker with a groin, Jamal Perry with a foot, Adam Shaheen with a shoulder, and Kyle Van Noy with a foot. And also, keep in mind, this is going to be Tua Tagovailoa's first NFL start as a quarterback. So it's going to be very interesting. He's got a very tough task going against this Rams defense. Even though Miami's offensive line has improved, a rookie like Solomon Kindley, who's had a pretty solid year as a rookie guard, he's never probably faced an Aaron Donald type like talent. So I expect Aaron Donald's going to take advantage of this offensive line and get after Tua all day. Tua's going to be under duress more than likely. This Rams defense has got Leonard Floyd too playing good ball. So if they can just get after Tua and frustrate him, they can have him off to a rough start to his rookie year, which isn't. And I'll say this too: if Tua does struggle on this day, don't hold it against him. I said this at the beginning of the year before Joe Burrow got his first start. I remember back in the day when Andrew Luck had to go against the Bears in his first start. He threw like 3 interceptions, including like maybe 1 or 2. I know it was at least 1. I think maybe even 2 pick sixes, and he's going to have a rough day. I don't think their offense really matches up well against this Rams defense. As I already mentioned, I think Aaron Donald's going to have a good day against this offensive line. I like Myles Gaskin, but he's not like a bell cow type of back, so they don't really have that type of back. They're not even using really Jordan Howard much that can maybe wear and tear the defensive front of Los Angeles. And then they got Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey can stick on Devontae Parker, and if they can just cut off that safety valve for Tua, they just got to worry about taking care of like the tight ends and Preston Williams. So I think the Rams defense is going to cause problems to this Miami offense on Sunday. And you switch sides of the ball. The Rams, they're improved their running game with Darrell Henderson and Malcolm Brown. And then they got Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Van Jefferson. We'll see if Tyler Higbee can go, but they still got Gerald Everett. Now they are going against a improved Miami defense that has the cornerbacks that can stick on them, and that's where I think this is going to come down to is the Rams will need to get the running game going because of the capabilities of that secondary of Miami. They're pretty good also at covering the tight ends, at least if you look at the fantasy aspect from it. But yeah, so I think it's going to be one between Darrell Henderson, Malcolm Brown. Maybe they get Cam Akers involved this week. I think it's going to come down to them winning the trenches and just gaining, those 4-yard pop play, 4 to 8 yard pop plays, and just continue to get in first downs and wear and tear. And then that leads to play action passes, which helps out a guy like Jared Goff. Then you can take those deep shots to maybe a Reynolds, or you can just kill them underneath with the crossing routes with Bobby Trees and Cooper Kupp. I think they will be able to move the ball. They will be able to get touchdowns. Dolphins, if they want to win this matchup, I think they got to win the turnover battle. And then Tua's just got to play a clean-cut game for his first game in action. But as far as picking a winner, I think the Rams are the better team right now. I trust them right now. I'm not going to pick a rookie in his first start going against Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. Maybe they do keep it close. Maybe this is one of those games that's close to about the fourth quarter, but then the Rams pull away. I think the Rams should be able to win by at least a touchdown. I say they win like a 24-17 type win for Los Angeles.
Best pick of the week, Cody.
As always, right? Next game, this is always a time saver for me whenever the Jets come up, right? But we got the New York Jets heading out to KC to face the Chiefs. Little news note: it was reported that the New York Jets had received trade calls about Avery Williamson, George Fant, Chuma Edoga, and Quincy Wilson. Those are not really notable names, but it'll be interesting to see if anybody trades for them. Obviously, if somebody trades for Avery Williamson, they need linebacker help. So maybe like the Steelers, and then George Fant, Chuma Edoga, they're tackles. So obviously that would be some team that might need line help. And then Quincy Wilson, I mean, he didn't do much with the Colts, and if he's not getting snaps with the Jets, I'm just very curious. That might be a team that's very desperate for a cornerback to be added to their group. Now I'm gonna go ahead and get into the injury report for New York. These following 4 players have not practiced: Connor McDermott with an illness, Bradley McDougall with a shoulder, Brashad Perryman with a concussion, and then Frank Gore with a hand injury. And then these guys have been limited: Jamison Crowder with a groin, Sam Ficken with a groin, Jordan Jenkins with ribs and shoulder, Josh Andrews with a shoulder, Blake Cashman with a hamstring, and Alex Lewis with a shoulder. And then these 3 players have not practiced this week for Kansas City: Armani Watts with an illness, Mitchell Schwartz with a back, and Sammy Watkins with a hamstring. It's going to be like I said this last week. I'll probably say this again every week. It's going to be very quick anytime there's a game that's involved with the Jets, and especially when the Jets are facing a team like the Kansas City Chiefs. I expect Patrick Mahomes to pick them apart. CEH is going to pick them apart on the ground, and most importantly, we all know what's about to happen, right? Le'Veon Bell is about to have like a 100-yard, 2-touchdown performance, a big middle finger to Adam Gase, and another person that shows that once you get away from Adam Gase, you can succeed in the NFL. I do expect we're going to see a heavy dose of Le'Veon Bell at some point in the game as he faces his former team. Again, I don't see how this New York Jets would slow down this Kansas City offense. So yeah.
Hey man, I had a question for you that I thought of when I was again, I had to miss the game, so I'm watching recap today from last night, but I saw my Twitter with the bad hit. And I got to thinking, do you think there's any way that like Jets defenders target Le'Veon Bell, or do they just not care either at this point? Like that was my big question. Like if they cared at all, sure, maybe, but I don't know.
No, I don't know. Well, it is a Greg Williams defense, so you do never know.
Right, that's what I was thinking. Coach, but nobody likes him. They don't care anymore to play football for the Jets.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I don't see that happening unless there was like some personal vendetta from Le'Veon, like on a personal level. I don't think so. But yeah, I don't think that their New York defense will do much. And how am I supposed to sell you guys on the New York Jets offense? They got 4 yards in the second half last week. It's just ugly up there in New York. And there's a reason why I think KC's at 25-point favorites or 21-point favorites over this team. And it's going to happen. They're going to beat them by those 21 points, if not more. I'm going to say Chiefs win like a 35-7 type of win on Sunday. Now, I'm going to go ahead and move on to this next game. We got Minnesota traveling out to Green Bay to face the Packers. There is no news notes. Let's start with the injuries on the Vikings side. These 2 players have not practiced. Mike Hughes with a neck, Holton Hill with a foot, Chris Boyd with a hamstring and back, and then Dalvin Cook. Chris Boyd's been limited, and then also Dalvin Cook with a groin, but the expectation is Dalvin Cook's going to play. Now, the Packers... Oh man, they are not only banged up, they are banged up. Even if they're these limited injuries are minor, they are banged up according to the injury report. So let's go ahead and dive into this. These following 4 players have not practiced for the Packers: Mason Crosby with a calf and back, Aaron Jones with a calf injury, Kevin King with a quadricep, and Mercedes Lewis with a knee. And these number of players have been limited this week. David Bakhtiari with a chest, Chris Barnes with a shoulders and biceps, Hunter Bradley with a groin, Tyler Irvin with a wrist, Rashawn Gary with an ankle, Rashawn Green with an oblique, Tyler Lancaster with a shoulder, John Lovett with a knee, Kamal Martin with a knee, Darnell Savage with a quadricep, Preston Smith with a shoulder, Zadarius Smith with an ankle, and Equanimeous St. Brown with a knee injury. So yeah, Packers are super banged up right now. Obviously, majority of those guys will play for Green Bay on Sunday, but they're going to have ticky-tack injuries they're dealing with. They're going to be playing less than 100%. But they are going against the Minnesota Vikings, who have completely struggled throughout the year. Where should we start here? Green Bay, let's look at their offense. They had a bounce-back game last week. They're going to look to continue that against Minnesota. Even despite if they're missing Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams is a quality backup back that can fill his role just nicely. They did just fine without David Bakhtiari last week. He's limited, so maybe the expectation is he'll be back in the lineup. But they got lucky, right? They're going against a Minnesota defensive front right now that just traded away Yannick Ngakoue. Danielle Hunter's season is done. They don't have much of a defensive front. So I expect they're going to be able to protect Rodgers so he can have the ability to pick apart the secondary of Minnesota. That secondary has struggled this year. Two of their quarterbacks have not practiced this week. One cornerback is limited. So not only they have struggled, but they're super banged up. So I think Aaron Rodgers is going to pick apart the Vikings defense throughout the day, and they're going to be able to put up points all Sunday afternoon. And then you switch sides of the ball. Minnesota's offense, 1 week they look bad, 1 week they look great. I don't know who they are really. Kirk Cousins is the epitome of a up and down, hot and cold quarterback. But they are going against a Green Bay defense that has kind of struggled at times. They do struggle to stop the run, and Dalvin Cook will be back. So there's a possibility he's going to have a great day against the Green Bay defense. And usually if he gets going, what that does is that opens up things for like Adam Thielen, Adam Thielen's the only wide receiver that has given Jaire Alexander problems this year. Other than that, Jaire Alexander's having a great year for the Green Bay Packers defense. But he already struggles with Thielen in the past. That allows Justin Jefferson, who's having one of the most impressive starts for a rookie wide receiver. That allows things to open up for him, so he could have a good day. I'm not saying it's going to be like upset city here, but I mean, it is a divisional matchup. I would not be surprised if this ends up being a hot day for that Vikings offense, and they're able to move the ball and put up points on the day. It'll depend. Zadarius Smith, he's kind of been quiet the last month, but then again, he's been on this injury report with that ankle injury for I think 3 or 4 weeks now. So maybe that has affected his play, his ability to get after the quarterback. And we all know Kirk Cousins under pressure struggles. But if he's got time after play action, if he's got time to sit back in the pocket, he might pick you apart. So that's where this is going to be won on the day, is if they can get to Kirk and make him struggle and make him make those mistakes he has done in the past. Even if the Vikings can have a hot day on the offense, I just think their defense cannot stop the Packers offense enough. So I'm gonna pick the Packers, but maybe Minnesota does keep it close up until the fourth quarter. But I think the Packers should be able to win by at least a touchdown. I say they win like a 35 to 28 type of game. Yeah, I'll do that score.
Hey, Cody, before you move on, I do want to let you know this is mostly for fantasy guys, but Shefty did report about 29 minutes ago that there were 2 positive tests on 2 separate teams. Broncos and Chargers have a positive test in the Vikings game here also does. So keep in mind to watch that, and if you're a fantasy player, have backup plans. But it looks like they're all planning to practice on Saturday, so just a reminder.
Okay, thanks, man. And as always, that with those situations, it looks like the NFL has gotten it down where it is dependent on high risk close contacts, contact tracing, as far as if they're able to play and whatnot. Like we just saw the Giants, that happened yesterday. Those linemen are back at practice today based on the contact tracing and them not testing positive. But as always, that's why you got to be we never know what's going to happen this year with that stuff. Now I'm going ahead and get into this next game. We got Indianapolis traveling out to to Detroit. A little news note from earlier in the week: the Lions, they did trade a conditional 6th-round pick to the Cowboys for Everson Griffin, but because of the rules with this whole pandemic, he's got to wait like 5 days before he can join the team. So Everson Griffin won't be playing this week, but he'll be playing his former team in the Vikings next Sunday for his first game as a Lion. So that's kind of weird to see former Vikings Adrian Peterson and Everson Griffin teaming up on a NFC North rival. Now let's go ahead and get in these injury reports. The Colts, Ryan Kelly did not practice yesterday with a knee injury, and then Mo Alley Cox has been limited with a knee. These following 4 players have been limited for Detroit. Taylor Decker with a shoulder, Adrian Peterson with an abdomen, Darrell Roberts with a groin and hip, and then Desmond Trufant with a hamstring injury. Now, as far as this matchup, let's start with Detroit. They've won the last 2 games to get to 500. Obviously, they made that trade with for Everson Griffin because they see playoff hopes potentially down the line for them if they can keep on winning. Let's see, their offense has been hit and miss throughout the year, but they're coming off a good game. But Matthew Stafford obviously will have a tougher matchup going against this Colts defense, who has impressed throughout the first half of the year. Colts defense, though, they got DeForest Buckner, so that's the biggest problem for this Detroit offense is can they protect Stafford? Can they keep that pocket from collapsing? Because if Stafford does have to, start getting out of the pocket, he can make those throws, but he's typically better when he can have time to scan the field and use that big arm of his and push it down the field to Kenny Golladay. That's the Colts' biggest problem right now is they have to make sure Kenny Golladay does not take off the top of the defense. He can make those big chunk 40-plus yard plays. So Xavier Rhodes, who's having a great year, a bounce-back year for his career, he knows Kenny Golladay from his time in Minnesota. So it'll be interesting to see how they do play Kenny Golladay. And then TJ Hawkinson, who's having a solid second year in his career. Can he get past guys like Darius Leonard and Bobby Okereke, who are great coverage linebackers? I think Detroit, they do have some explosiveness with Golladay. DeAndre Swift has looked good in the last couple games. They should be able to move the ball against the Colts defense, but it's going to be coming down to can they turn those successful drives that take them down into the red zone into touchdowns and not settling for field goals. That's usually how the Colts have won some games this year is they've been holding those teams to field goals, not allowing those touchdowns. But maybe the Lions can maybe get 2 or 3, but they need to get 3+ touchdowns. They have a good solid chance of winning. And you switch sides of the ball, the Colts offense, it's struggled right throughout the year. It's been so hit and miss. And then this last game before their bye week, when the Cincinnati jumped out to that early surprise lead, they started to get things going with the hurry up offense. And that's when you started seeing things also open up for the running game. So it's going to be very interesting to see what their game plan is coming out of the bye. Personally, as a fan, I'm hoping they kind of keep up with this up-tempo offense that helps spread out the field, not making everything so condensed with just obvious run plays. But yeah, it's going to be contingent on they're winning to this game's it's all what it is. It's always going to be how efficient is Phillip Rivers. If Trey Flowers, if he can get after Phillip Rivers and put him underneath pressure, it's going to lead to a bad Phillip Rivers day, and he's going to freak out like he always does under pressure, and he's going to try to force throws, which leads to interceptions. So as long as they can keep a clean pocket for Phillip, as long as Phillip doesn't try to force any balls, it's going to allow them to protect the ball. It's going to allow them to get the ball to Jonathan Taylor on the ground. Jeff Okudah, the rookie cornerback for Detroit, I know T.Y. Hilton has had a down year, but he's going to have his hands full when he covers him on Sunday. I think T.Y. was in the media this week talking about he's ready to have his blow-up game of the year. So I think this Colts offense, as long as they can protect the ball, they're going to be able to move this ball against this defense. This defense, they can make plays, but they're still limited in areas that allow chunk plays. I do think this is going to be a close game just because the Colts are on the road. I I need to see more of a consistent performance out of the Colts offense to trust them. But because of that Colts defense, I'm going to pick them to win the game. They're going to be able to get after Stafford and maybe force a turnover or two throughout the game. I do think it's going to come down to the fourth quarter. I think they end up pulling away, though, and winning by like a 4 to 7 points. I'll say the Colts win like a 28-24 win against Detroit. I'm going to go ahead and keep it moving, though. We got the Las Vegas Raiders traveling out to Cleveland to face the Browns. Now, there was a little news note that I saw last night that the Browns could be open to trading Olivier Vernon. So if a team that needs pass rush, they could be giving Cleveland a call and see if they can get Vernon on their roster. Let's take a look at the injury report, though, for Las Vegas. Arden Key, he has not practiced this week with a foot injury. These following players have been limited for Las Vegas: Malik Collins with a shoulder, Brian Edwards with a foot and ankle, Josh Jacobs with a knee, Carl Nassib with a toe, Keyshawn Nixon with a groin, and then Sam Young with a knee. And then let's look at the Browns report. This is obviously a huge loss if he doesn't get to practice this week. Myles Garrett with an ankle injury hasn't practiced, as well as Austin Hooper with an abdomen, Jacob Phillips with a knee, Wyatt Teller with a calf. And then these following players have been limited: Kareem Hunt with a rib injury, Jarvis Landry with hip and a rib injury, Larry Ogunjobi with a hamstring, J.C. Treader with a knee, and then M.J. Stewart with a back injury. We got a pretty good matchup going on right here. And you can honestly say these teams are kind of somewhat similar to each other between the playing style and their rosters that they currently have. Obviously, Baker Mayfield had a impressive performance after starting 0-5 in his last game. Then he made 22 straight completions. I think he's going to be able to keep that going against this up and down Raiders giving up plays through the air. I think Kareem Hunt could have a good day as long as that offensive line can dominate the front against Las Vegas. And then even though the team has lost OBJ for the year, I did think Rashad Higgins and Donovan Peoples-Jones filled in nicely. I'm not here to say I'm not going to be one of those guys though that will say that Baker Mayfield is a better player without OBJ. I'm not going to say that. That's unfair to say. But you did see that he was able to move the ball and put up points last week. So I think that's going to be able to happen. This does seem like a game that's going to come down to who wins the turnover battle. So we'll see if maybe a Max Crosby can get after Baker and get Baker under pressure, because Baker is one of those quarterbacks, he's got a hand in his face. He might try to force a throw or make a misread and get those interceptions, which he has done this year. So if maybe a Trayvon Mullen, somebody like that in the secondary, LaMarcus Joyner, I believe Jonathan Abrams should be back this week. I think he's out of his 5 days on being on the list for being a close contact. But yeah, so if somebody can make some plays like that, that will give them a chance. But I do think the Browns are more than capable of putting up 3+ touchdowns on the Las Vegas defense. And you switch sides of the ball. Obviously, if Myles Garrett can't play this week, that significantly hurts the Browns' chances of slowing down the Raiders' offense. The Raiders' offense has been playing pretty well this year, between moving the ball on the ground, taking their play action deep shots to guys like Nelson Aguilar, who's having a bounce back year to his career. We saw Henry Ruggs flash against the Chiefs, and he kind of disappeared last week. So we'll see if they can get Henry Ruggs going in the passing game. Then, of course, they got Darren Waller. But the Browns, we'll see if they can slow them down. Obviously, if Myles Garrett plays, he's having a defensive player of the year type of year. So if he can get after Derek Carr, that can maybe help them win the turnover battle. That's what I'm keep on going back to in this game. I think it's going to come back down to who wins the turnover battle. And if Garrett plays, that helps them out, because just like Baker Mayfield, Derek Carr is one of those quarterbacks that if everything's not perfect around him, that's going to lead to him, taking the sacks, potentially throwing turnovers, or fumbling the ball if he does get hit by a guy like Myles Garrett. Again, Browns defense isn't outside Myles Garrett. They still have some holes on that. Denzel Ward, though, is having a great year. But there's still holes for them to pick them apart through the ground game, through the air, nickel and dime them. So I also do think their offense is capable of putting up 3+ touchdowns. I do think this is going to be one of those back and forth games. It's going to come down to who has the ball last in the final 2 minutes of the game. Like I said, turnover battle. I'm gonna keep on harping that on this game. I think whatever defense can force more turnovers will win the game. Man, I can really see either team winning, but I'm gonna pick the Browns. I think they find a way to get a win at the end of the game. I think that 2-minute drive to win the game and throw that touchdown for Baker Mayfield, I feel like that's really is going to up his confidence going forward for the rest of the season. So I think he finds a way to get them in field goal range or score that touchdown to win the game. I think the Browns squeeze out a win, like let's say a 35-31 type of win. Baker leads a touchdown drive at the end of the game for back-to-back weeks to pull off the victory.
Hey, bro, let's give you a chance to get a drink here. You got a question in the chat.
Okay.
Little fantasy dig from Rain Normsey. Wants to know digs for Chris Carson. What's your thoughts?
If you're a Diggs side, keep Diggs. I mean, Chris Carson has a midfoot sprain right now, so we don't know how long Chris Carson is going to be out. I know they said that they would maybe try to push him, or he might try to push through the injury, which is not always a good thing too, because that could increase your chances of re-injuring it or further injuring your foot. So I would lean towards Diggs. It does depend on what you need.
Plus, Penny's coming back, right? Like soon.
Yeah, Rashad Penny should be back soon. But yeah, I would whoever, I'm not sure who he has, but I would keep Diggs, or whatever side of the trade you are on, end up with Diggs. That's all I'm trying to say. But yeah, and you're right too. Penny will be back, and and also it does depend if you need running back help, if you need wide receiver help. I think
you could do if let's say this then, and I'll let you get back to the show here. If you need running back, I think you can do better than Chris Carson for Steph Diggs if that's your side. Like I think you could get somebody better.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get into this next section, or this next game. We got Tennessee traveling to Cincinnati to face the Bengals. If you guys did miss it, the Bengals did trade Carlos Dunlap to the Seahawks for B.J. Finney and a 7th-round pick.
They've been watching you, right? Because you've been calling that forever now.
Yeah. I said that, 3 weeks ago when Carlos Dunlap was upset about his benching. So a little pat on the back. I kind of foresaw that coming. But they did get some, not just like a 7th-round pick, but they did get B.J. Finney. He's more of a backup offensive lineman, but obviously we all know that Bengals offensive line needs as much help as they can get. Sometimes a change of scenery could help. And then they also have signed, I saw this morning, Quentin Spain. He's actually going to start off on the practice squad, but then he could potentially move up to the main roster. He is the former starting guard for the Buffalo Bills, who just signed that extension in the offseason, but Buffalo moved on from him, I believe, 2 weeks ago. So they are trying to add more linemen to their roster. Now, as far as injuries, let's go ahead and get into that. Yeah, no news on the Tennessee side. So speaking of Tennessee, let's start with their injury report. These following players have not practiced this week. Jadeveon Clowney with a knee, Christian Fulton with a knee, Jonathan Joseph with an illness, Dennis Kelly with a knee, Daniel Munyer with a hand, and then A.J. Brown with a knee. As always, though, I know people keep on talking about A.J. Brown missing practice. He's missed like every Thursday, guys, for the past 4 weeks. Don't sweat it. Dane Cruikshank has been limited with a groin, and then Ty Smith with a shoulder. Take a look at Bengals injury report. Not great as far as their offense. Bobby Hart, who's not even the greatest tackle in the world, but he's still an offensive lineman for them, has not practiced with a knee, as well as Trey Hopkins with a concussion. And then Joe Mixon has some practice with a foot, and then also Darius Phillips with a knee, and then their starting left tackle, Jonah Williams, with a stinger, and as well as John Ross with the illness, but they kind of been making him a healthy inactive anyways. And then Brandon Wilson with a knee. This is a perfect bounce back matchup, get right type. I wanted it's called a get right matchup. It wasn't like they completely were terrible against Pittsburgh, but they are coming off that loss against Steelers. So this is a kind of a get back on track matchup for Tennessee. I expect them to walk in there and give Cincinnati problems all day because of the offensive line of Cincinnati. Not only their line has played terrible, Bobby Hart is hurt, Trey Hopkins is hurt, and Jonah Williams is hurt. I really don't care about the other two, but the fact that Jonah Williams, their best offensive line, is hurt and could potentially miss this game, that doesn't spell well for Joe Burrow and his ability to have even just a millisecond of a time to scan the field to make a play. That allows a guy like Jadeveon Clowney to easily come off the edge, Harold Landry to come off the edge. With Jeffrey Simmons, who's having a great second year for Tennessee. He's going to be able to tear up the middle of the defense. And then they don't got Joe Mixon. More than likely, he's going to miss his second game in a row. That's not great because Gio Bernard's not a, between the tackles runner. So they can't even try to wear and tear the defensive front of Tennessee. And then, so I expect Joe Burrow to be under duress all day. They're going to have to try to get the ball out of his hands as quick as possible. Maybe they have a drive or two that they can get some points because Tennessee's cornerbacks have struggled this year. So maybe T. Higgins can have a good day. Maybe Tyler Boyd and A.J. Green as well could have a good day. So, yeah, I think, though, at the end of the day, maybe a touchdown or two for the Bengals, but I think that offense is going to struggle all afternoon against the Tennessee defense. You switch sides of the ball. Tennessee's offense should be able to run the ball easily with Derek Brown against this defense. A.J. Brown, I expect him to play. He's going to have a good day, especially if like a Darius Phillips is missing in that secondary. And I just think they're going to be able to move the ball. They're going to be able to get 3+ touchdowns on this team. Maybe because of Joe Burrow's ability to keep their team within a game makes it a game, but I kind of see this one going more towards that Bengals matchup against the Ravens a couple weeks ago, where the opposing team just completely dominates all afternoon and makes things life difficult on Burrow. I think we might end up seeing Burrow look like a rookie more times than not this week. So I am going to pick Tennessee. I think they should be able to win by 10 points. I say they end up winning like a 24-14 type of win for Tennessee. And then we are going to head into this next matchup where we got New England traveling out to Buffalo to face the Bills. We do got some news notes really quick on Buffalo. They are signing Darren Lee to their linebacker group, former starting linebacker in the NFL. We'll see if that can help them out. Matt Milano's been dealing with an injury all year, and that group has been, as a whole, has been dealing with injuries. So they're looking to add a depth piece with that move. And going to the Patriots, a couple news notes on their side. Julian Edelman had a precautionary knee procedure. He's expected to miss some time. Which it was just a matter of time because he's been dealing with that knee injury all season long. And then there was a report that the Patriots could be open to trade pretty much most players on their roster if they do lose this weekend, including Stefan Gilmore. Now, I will say this: you can Google search the quote, but Bill Belichick basically called it radio talk fodder when he was asked about it this morning. So we'll see. But there is a lot of smoke around a Stefan Gilmore trade, and usually when there's a lot of smoke, there is somewhat truth to it. I'm gonna go ahead and get into these injury reports. I'm gonna start off with the both teams are actually pretty banged up heading into the matchup, but start with New England. These two players have not practiced. Carl Davis with a concussion, as well as N'Keal Harry with a concussion. These players have been limited. Shalik Cahoon with a knee, Kyle Duggar with an ankle, Stephon Gilmore with a knee, Lawrence Guy with an ankle, Damian Harris with an ankle, Justin Herron with an ankle, Shaq Mason with a calf, and then John Simon with a shoulder. I guess I put his name twice. That's weird. Must have been focused on that game last night when I was working on it. And then with the Bills side, guys, we have 5 players have not practiced for them. Vernon Butler with a groin, Cody Ford with a knee, Micah Hyde with a concussion, Quinton Jefferson with a knee, Josh Norman with a hamstring, and then these following players have been limited: Jerry Hughes with a foot, Cam Lewis with a wrist, Isaiah McKenzie with an ankle, Matt Milano with a pectoral, and Brian Winter with a knee. Now let's go ahead and get into this matchup. First of all, I'll go ahead and get to what I need to say. So this Buffalo Bills team, this is a statement game for the Buffalo Bills. It really is. I know people might be wondering, how is this a statement game going against a 2-4 Patriots team that has looked pretty bad over the last couple of weeks? It's a statement game because the Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane, I almost forgot his first name, the GM, they have been 0-6 against New England in their tenure. Last year, when Buffalo went to the playoffs that year, they lost both games to the Patriots. So this has been the Patriots division for 20 years. If you're the team that's finally going to be the one that maybe controls this division, you can't lose to a banged up, bad roster, struggling New England Patriots team when you're at home. I know it's unfortunate the Buffalo Bills fans, Bills Mafia, won't be at the game. I know they're still waiting to get approval to get fans at the stadium. But this is a game, no matter how banged up you are, you have to win. Starting on the offensive side of the ball, they were able to move the ball against the Jets, but they did struggle. They shot themselves in the foot with penalties last week against the Jets. So they need to play a clean, penalty-free game on the offensive side of the ball. They do need to try to get the run game going. This Patriots offense has struggled at times throughout the year to stop the run. So they need to see if Zach Moss and Devin Singletary can get things going on the ground. Of course, use Josh Allen's running ability, but also don't be afraid to pick them apart through the air. Stefan Gilmore has kind of actually struggled this year, and he's on the injury report. So we'll see if he has the ability to stick on Stephon Diggs. John Brown will be back this week, and usually when he's in the lineup, that opens up everything else in the passing attack. That's one thing I have noticed this year. When he is not in the lineup, the Buffalo Bills offense has struggled. Even when he has played, when he was banged up against that Tennessee matchup, I think he was banged up, then he left at some point. So when he is healthy and he's good to go, he's a perfect match to go with Stephon Diggs and Cole Beasley, even the rookie Gabriel Davis. So I think we're going to see this Buffalo Bills offense bounce back this week against a defense that has struggled throughout the year. But obviously, it's got to be a mistake-free game for the Bills offense, not only from the penalties, but from Josh Allen. He cannot afford to throw the ball into coverage, interceptions, or fumble the ball when he gets hit. So that's going to be the biggest key for that offense to be successful on Sunday. Then you switch sides of the ball. The Patriots offense has struggled. Cam has struggled the last couple weeks, but that's because he really doesn't have much options surrounding him right now. As I already mentioned, Julia Edelman's going to be out. N'Keal Harry is going to probably be out this week with his concussion. So they're down to 3 undrafted wide receivers. They're down to rookie tight ends. So I don't know what they're going to really do much. I'm not saying the Bills' defense is back, but they're coming off a strong second half performance against the Jets. So they have their chance to prove themselves again against the Patriots defense. All they need to really worry about, in my opinion, is just don't let their running game go on. If Cam Newton can get the running game going with his legs, with Damian Harris, with Rex Burkhead and James White, that could lead to an upset against this Bills team. If they can play clock control, keep the ball out of the Bills' offensive hands, and then they can just make chunk plays on the ground with Cam and those running backs, then yeah, they have the potential of upsetting the Bills. But I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on with this Patriots team. It just seems like there's a different mojo surrounding the roster. So I am going to pick the Bills. I think the Bills should be able to handle their business. You never know, though. With Bill Belichick, he probably does keep it close with his defensive mind. But I think eventually the Bills pull away in the fourth quarter. They should be able to win by a touchdown. I truly believe that. So I'm gonna take I'll pick the Bills to win like a 27-20 type of win on Sunday. And then I'm going to address some questions really quick, Rob. James Robinson owner wants to know is if Diggs for James Robinson? No, no. James Robinson's having a good year, but Diggs is that good. I would not trade Diggs if you didn't have to be honest. And then we also got another question here. Do I know if Aaron Jones is practicing today? Those if you go, that should be coming on Twitter soon, but we'll get a report by the end of the day. But I would guess the expectation is Aaron Jones is going to be out this week. Now I'm gonna go ahead and keep it moving for you guys. I'm gonna go through these Sunday 4 p.m. matchups. We do got the Chargers traveling out to Denver to face the Broncos. As far as injuries heading into the matchup, we got Virgil Green and Ryan Groy. They were both placed on IR. Again, if you're placed on IR, doesn't mean your season's over. You could return in 3 weeks if you're healthy. Then Trey Turner has not practiced for LA as well. And then these 4 players have been limited for the Chargers. Brian Bulaga with a back, Melvin Ingram with a knee, Rashawn Jenkins with a hamstring, and then Storm Norton with a knee. And then these 2 players have not practice for Denver. Tim Patrick with a hamstring, Deontay Spencer with a shoulder, and then these following four players have been limited this week. Philip Lindsay with a concussion, Jeremy Atachu with a quadricep, and then Andrew Beck with a hamstring, and then Jake Butt with a hamstring. Let's go ahead and get into this. We'll start with Denver's offense. That offense has been struggling throughout the year. Drew Lock has struggled since he's returned from his injury. He's been failing to connect on throws with his wide receivers. He's been forcing throws, which has led to turnovers. He's looking like the Drew Lock that we kind of saw maybe being in the NFL at the college level. So he needs to kind of get back to what how he was playing last year. But if he doesn't, then this offense is going to struggle against this Chargers defense. The Chargers defense is very solid. They got Joey Bosa, Melvin Ingram, Kenneth Murray, Linval Joseph in the middle, Casey Hayward in the back. So I think they're going to be able to make life difficult on this Denver offense. The Denver offense, Tim Patrick, who's been a pleasant surprise, he hasn't practiced. Jerry Jeudy has been very up and down as a rookie this year. Noah Fant is still trying to get back to 100%. So, and then Philip Lindsay, we'll see if he can play with the concussion. And Melvin Gordon, of course, one week he's on, 1 week he's off. So we never know. But then again, this is a Melvin Gordon revenge game, his first game against the Chargers. So maybe we do see Gordon look great this on Sunday. But I just think the Denver offense has been way too inconsistent for me to trust them. I do think we're going to see some turnovers still happen by that Denver offense. Maybe they can get 2 or 3 touchdowns on the board, but I think they're going to struggle throughout the day against LA's defense. And then going to the opposite side of the ball, man, what a year Justin Herbert has been. What a pleasant surprise. I had my doubts about him heading into for him as a NFL quarterback. And he's not only completely proven me wrong, but majority of NFL draft analysts wrong. He's got great touch on the ball. He can hit the ball anywhere on the field. And he's going against a young and banged up Denver defense. So I expect him to continue his success. Keenan Allen should have a good day. Hunter Henry should have a good day, as well as Mike Williams. But we'll see if they can move the ball against this Denver defense. The Denver defense has been pretty solid against the run. So can Joshua Kelly and a Justin Jackson maybe get things going on the ground? I think that's what they need to do, though. They need to figure out a way to get a better consistent running game going, so that can make life easier on Justin Herbert as he progresses through the season. Because at some point, they're going to get tape on him. It's going to get more difficult for him. So they do need to have a complementary running game to keep him successful going throughout his career. But I think they're going to be able to pick apart the Denver defense and find the end zone more times than not on Sunday. I really do think LA is going to win. It is a divisional matchup, so maybe Denver does keep it interesting. But I think LA finds a way to win, like a 28-17 type of win for LA. I'm going to go ahead and move into the next matchup. We got a nice NFC West battle going on. San Francisco is heading out to Seattle to face the Seahawks. Let's just start with the 49ers injury. The injury bug continues to hit them hard. Jeff Wilson, he's expected to head to IR at some point this week. Deebo Samuel has already been ruled out of this game with a hamstring injury. Richie James has not practiced with an ankle. Jaquiski Tart has not practiced with a groin. Quan Alexander has been limited with an ankle. And then Jimmy Ward has been limited with a quadricep. Now, the Seattle's, they have their fair share of injuries as well, specifically to their running back group. Chris Carson hasn't practiced with a foot. Carlos Hyde hasn't practiced with a hamstring. And then Travis Homer has not practiced with a knee. So it may come down to their rookie running back, DJ Dallas, might be the only guy good to go on Sunday. We'll see what happens with that. Obviously, maybe some of these guys get a practice in today and they're active on Sunday. So that's something to monitor, especially for your fantasy football players out there. I know I already, in that league I talked about on the Fantasy Voyage on Sunday, I'll have to see if I got the waiver claim on him when I get off this episode, but I put a claim in on DJ Dallas. Not a great matchup, but sometimes volume is king in fantasy football, as me and Rob always say. But let's go ahead and get into this, more of these injury reports. These following players also haven't practiced. Mike Ayupati with a back, Ugo Amadi with a hamstring, Benson Mayoa with an ankle, and then Jamal Adams with a groin and an illness, so he has yet to return. And then Dwayne Brown hasn't practiced with the knee, but he's kind of like AJ Brown. He always takes that Thursday practice off, and he usually plays. That's how he's actually been doing that for like the past 2 years. And then Quentin Dunbar has been limited with a knee, and then Ryan Neal has been limited with a hamstring. I totally expect this to be a classic 49ers Seahawks game that we have been getting over the past, 4 or 5 years, whenever these teams are both good. I think, let's see, starting with the Seattle offense, I do think Russell Wilson will have a bounce back game. I mean, he still had a good game against the Cardinals last week, but he threw those 3 interceptions. But he is going against that 49ers defense that is missing Richard Sherman still. He has yet to return off the IR list. So I think DK Metcalf is going to have a good game. I know he was pretty quiet while Tyler Lockett got those 20 targets last week. But I think both of them are going to be able to move the ball with Russell through the air. But their biggest key, though, is it going to be an only passing attack? San Francisco has been pretty solid against the ground game. Javon Kinlaw having a good rookie year. Fred Warner is just an outstanding linebacker, not only in coverage, but in his run-stopping skills. So I think it's going to come down to that, right? Like, can this Seattle offensive line generate some type of push? And how's the running back room going to look? Like, let's just say all 3 backs are going to go. Can DJ Dallas get the job done as a rookie running back? I believe he does have the skill set to be a 3-down running back, but we need to see that first before we can fully buy into that experience. So we'll see if they can move the ball on the ground. But at the end of the day, when you got the magic man himself, Russell Wilson, he's going to find ways to move the ball against San Francisco and find ways to get points on Seattle's side of the ball. Then you switch sides of the ball. How's the San Francisco offense going to look? They're going to be without Deebo Samuel again. Jeff Wilson's headed to the IR. And then I have not heard that there was some possible expectation that Tevin Coleman would return this week, but I have not heard anything on that. So I'm going to assume that he's going to be staying on IR still. So they're going to be down to Jerick McKinnon, who kind of got a rest week. That's what Kyle Shanahan admitted to last week. They're kind of watching his workload, but he might be dependent on Jack Bourgeois, who's been hammering this name for a month now. Jermichael Hasty is going to get his fair share of touches as well. He's a little speedster back that can take it to the house on any given moment. And then Brandon Ayuk, who's been having a solid rookie year. Can he pick apart this Seattle defense? Now, I know they won't have Carlos Dunlap quite yet, so that's what this is going to come down to, is that the Seattle's defense has just completely struggled this year. They do struggle to get any type of pressure on the quarterback position. So that's going to allow a Jimmy Garoppolo to have time to scan the field. And typically, he's one of those quarterbacks. He's got time to scan the field. He is more than capable of picking you apart. And that probably will continue. Seahawks this will probably be another game they do continue to struggle on defense as they await Carlos Dunlap to get in the lineup, as they await to get Snacks Harrison off a practice squad in this lineup, and as they await to get Jamal Adams back in that lineup to help out their defense. So I do think this 49ers offense is going to have the ability to put up the touchdowns against Seattle. But, man, I still think these injuries are going to bite them in the butt at some moments. You can only go so long with injuries to the running back group and to your wide receivers before it kind of catches up to you on some drives. So I think Seattle might be able to get some opportunities where they can stall them, especially if guys like Bobby Wagner and Jordan Brooks can help bottle up the running game and maybe make them a one-dimensional offense. We'll see, but I think 49ers will be able to put up some points. Like I said, I think this is going to be a classic NFC West type of matchup. I think it could come down. It's probably going just like last time we saw them in Week 17 when San Francisco made that stop at the 1 yard line to win the game. I think this is going to come down to that type of thing. Who's going to have the ball last? And if I was going to trust which quarterback had the ball last, who would win the game, it's going to be Russell Wilson. So I think he does find a way to pull off the win to get them in field goal position. They win like a classic 31-28 type of game over San Francisco on Sunday. Going to head to the last 4 p.m. game. Well, we got the New Orleans Saints heading up to Chicago to face the Bears. No news on either team, so let's go ahead and dive into these injuries. On the Saints side, Nick Easton has not practiced with a concussion, and then this is a positive sign. Michael Thomas has returned to practice. He was limited with his ankle and hamstring. Marquez Callaway was limited with an ankle, as well as Teron Armstead with an elbow. These 4 players have not practiced for the Bears. Khalil Mack with an ankle, Cordero Patterson with a quad, Allen Robinson with a concussion, and Cody Whitehair with a calf. These 2 guys have been limited for the Bears. Eddie Jackson with a knee, and then Sherrick McManus with a hamstring. And I think what this game's going to come down to is this Bears offense. This Bears offense is ugly. It's unbearable. I am going to, pun intended, it's unbearable to watch at times. David Montgomery is basically looking like just a guy at his point of his career. Allen Robinson dealing with a concussion. He's their best wide receiver. So if he can't play, that helps out the Saints out. And then Cordero Patterson, he's not like killing defenses, but he's been part of their offensive game plan. So I just think they're going to struggle against the Saints. Now, the Saints defense has also struggled this year. And this seems like it would be a perfect game for the Bears to maybe find ways to find some type of identity against the Saints defense. But they're super banged up. They've been inconsistent, and there's just nothing special about that Bears offense. So I think they're going to struggle. Maybe they can find 1 or 2 drives to get points on the board, but I think they're going to struggle all day against the Saints defense. And then you switch sides of the ball. Saints offense, no matter who's in the lineup, Sean Payton's going to find ways to move the ball up and down the field. But if they get Michael Thomas back, that's really going to help out their offense. But they do have a tough matchup. The Bears defense is the only reason why they have won 5 games this year. And then Khalil Mack has been playing banged up. He hasn't practiced this week with an ankle injury. So if he can't go, that's really going to hurt their chances. But I think the Saints offense, I do think if Khalil Mack plays, I think there will be drives that they are unable to put up points and they're going to stall. But I think they're going to at least find a way. I think they're going to find the end zone at least 3+ times, though, at the end of the day. I do think they're just a better coach team at this point, and I think they're the better team overall. I don't see the only way I could see the Bears beating the Saints is if the Bears defense harasses Drew Brees all afternoon and they can get pick sixes, force turnovers, and win turnover battle. I just don't see that happening. So I am going to pick the Saints to win. I think they end up winning like a 20. I'll say maybe they do struggle on offense. They win like a 24-10 type of win in Chicago, because that is true. It is in Chicago. Drew Brees does typically struggle in outdoor games. So, yeah, 24-10, 21-10 type of win for New Orleans. So I am going to get in this Sunday night game. Let me just get a quick refresh on the coffee. Thank you, guys. My voice has been pretty rough this morning. So let me go ahead and get into this. We got the game I don't want to see on Sunday Night Football. Dallas against Philadelphia. Let's start with the injuries here. On the Cowboy side, only one guy's hasn't practiced. It's Andy Dalton. With his concussion from that hit last week. I think the expectation is he's not going to play. So we're going to see Ben DiNucci play, or as I'm still cracking up by this name, or as Michael Irvin said last night, Gucci DiNucci. We'll see if that rookie quarterback can maybe help out the offense. I don't think it will. Let me go ahead and get into Philadelphia. Their injuries. They're pretty banged up as always, it seems. All these players have not practiced. Jannard Avery with an elbow, Jack Driscoll with an ankle, Nathan Gary with an ankle, Craig James with a hamstring, Alshon Jeffrey with a calf, Miles Sanders with a knee, and Vinny Curry with an illness. And then these three players have been limited. Malik Jackson with a quadricep, Lane Johnson with a knee and ankle, and then Cravon LeBlanc with a quadricep. Yeah, as far as this game, I might be quick on this because of how bad the Cowboys have been this year, and the fact they're playing a quarterback they drafted in the 6th or 7th round. That's why I usually have the prospect encyclopedia. You can just open up to his section and find out when he got drafted and read David Connor's report on him. But yeah, Cowboys offense, it struggled as they have been dealt with injuries to their offensive line. They're missing 3/5 of their offensive line at this point. They're starting a quarterback that was drafted in the 6th or 7th round. Yes, they still have Ezekiel Elliott. Yes, they still have the passing options, but I think they're going to struggle on Sunday night against this Philadelphia defense. The Philadelphia defensive front with Javon Hargrave, Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Derek Barnett, they're going to get after this young cat all night. And if he's under pressure, he's a rookie quarterback making his first start on a primetime game. Odds to me say that he's going to struggle and throw interceptions at some point in the game, even if he gets off to remember like Brett Rippon for the Broncos earlier this year, an undrafted guy getting his first start on primetime. Maybe he kind of is like him, looks good in the first half, but then he has like a quarter where he's throwing like interceptions and looking bad. That's how I think it's going to be, at least at best. But I think he's going to struggle most of the night. But he's got the weapons that maybe can help him move the ball against the Philadelphia secondary. Philadelphia secondary still needs some work. Their linebacker group still needs some work. So there is an opportunity. If everything clicks, they can move the ball. I just don't see it happening. You switch sides of the ball. Eagles offense have been up and down, but they are expected to get Jalen Reagor back, their rookie wide receiver. Travis Fulgham has been a pleasant surprise for them this year. So that should help them out. And then Dallas Goedert has been practicing, but we have to see if he's going to be activated off IR. But if he does get activated off IR in the next 2 days, that's a great positive sign for their offense. I also saw Jason Peters is practicing. So this Philadelphia team is getting healthy. Even if Miles Sanders misses this week, Boston Scott, we saw him. He was a very solid fill-in guy last week. So I think they're going to be able to move the ball against a terrible Cowboys defense that can't stop the run, can't stop the pass. This is a perfect game for the Eagles to kind of figure themselves out on offense. As they get healthy, that's going to help them maybe make the push to be that team that's going to represent the NFC East at the end of the year. So yeah, I just have no faith in the Cowboys offense, Cowboys at all on their offense and defense to be able to pull off the win against Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia should be able to handle their business. There should be no reason why they should lose to this Cowboys team. I think they do win. They're at home. They win by at least a touchdown. They win like a honestly, they should win by 10 plus points against this Cowboys team, but maybe it's the NFC East, baby. We don't know what's going to happen. So I'll pick them to win like a 24-17 type of win for Philadelphia. I'm going to head into this last matchup of week 8, the Monday night matchup. We got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers traveling up to New York to face the Giants. Let's start with these injuries on the Bucs side. Chris Godwin has been ruled out with a finger injury. And then these guys have been limited. Gronk with a shoulder, Scotty Miller with a hip and groin, Jason Pierre-Paul with a knee, and Antoine Winfield Jr. With a shoulder and groin injury. And then these guys are banged up on the Giants side. Devontae Freeman has not practiced with an ankle. Again, this is the first day of practice, so watch today's report, watch tomorrow's report to see if Freeman will be able to give it a go. And then these guys have been limited. CJ Board with a concussion, Adrian Colbert with a shoulder, Darnay Holmes with a neck, and then Sterling Shepard with a shoulder and a toe injury. As far as this, guys, let's go ahead and get into this. New York's best chances. Man, they're going to need everything to click right. As Rob alluded to, they're one of the teams that had a positive test on their line. Will Hernandez, their starting guard, he's on the list, so he's going to be out for some time. Their offensive line has already struggled this year, and now they're going up against a very good defense in the Tampa Bay, and I don't expect them to get things right against this Tampa Bay defense. Jason Pierre-Paul and Shaq Barrett should be able to get after Daniel Jones all afternoon or all night, since it is a primetime game. They're going to make life difficult on him, and as we have seen with his career so far, when things are difficult, when he's under duress, he does maybe have the tendency to fumble the ball more than the interceptions, but he also does have the tendency to throw those interceptions when he tries to force the ball. And I think that's going to unfortunately continue for him against this Bucs defense. The Giants, they struggle to get the ball going on the ground as well. And that's not going to change against this team when Levante David and Devin White are flying all over the field making tackles. So it's going to be a rough night. But, the Tampa defense, they are suspect of letting up big plays through the air. So maybe a Darius Slayton can have an opportunity to take off the top off the defense. Maybe Sterling Shepard gets things going, and maybe Evan Ingram can catch the ball for once in a while. But more times than not, I think they're going to struggle on offense. Switching sides of the ball, Tampa's offense is clicking right now. They're going to be out without Chris Godwin, so I do think we're going to see a Mike Evans bounce back game. Gronk has been heavily involved over the past 3 weeks. Scotty Miller's coming off a great game. Ronald Jones is running the ball great, and then Leonard Fournette had a good solid game from his injury. And that probably shouldn't change against this Giants defense. Now, this Giants defense has been pretty solid, right? They got a very solid, strong inside duo between Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence. So maybe they can try to contain the run game and try to make them one-dimensional. But, man, Tom Brady's dealing right now through the air. So even if they make them a one-dimensional offense, that Giants secondary still needs a lot of work to it. There are some pieces there. I like James Bradbury. I always have. He has given him and Mike Evans have been having up and down battles throughout their career, but he has given Mike Evans some problems. So maybe there is an opportunity they can cut off Mike Evans and try to force others to beat them, but Tampa has so many others to beat them. So they're going to score more times than not against this Giants team. I think Bucs should be able to walk away with an easy victory. They should be able to win by 10 points. I think the Bucs end up winning like a 35-21 type of win. on Monday night. And we did address these questions throughout the episode. Maybe that's something we'll start doing going forward. But do you have any questions for me, Rob, before we get off?
Yeah, I got two. One, are we going to get a, mid-season awards episode next week?
Ooh. That's a good question.
Because I know we did it last year, yeah. So I think you should do it this year. Yeah. And so that would make my questions today then, since we are at the half point, and next week would be the half point for awards. Who are the biggest surprises, either positive or negative, for you as a team so far? Like, obviously, we didn't think Chicago would have 5 wins by now, but anybody else?
Yeah. So let me, if you don't mind me, and I'm just trying to think of like records right now, and for one team that's been a disappointing team, I keep on saying, is the Vikings. I picked them to win the NFC North, and I was completely wrong about that. So they have been a pleasant surprise for me. And then, prior to last night's loss, which caused them to 3-5, I thought the Panthers have been a pleasant surprise as far as their ability to play.
I think at 3-5 without C-Mac is still insane.
Right. That is very true. That is very true. And I think the Cardinals being 5-2 is a surprise to me. I thought they would be. I know they have had a pretty good schedule to start off, but I thought they would be struggling more than that, especially after they lost to the Panthers. You have to give credit that they have beat the 49ers and the Seahawks this year. And I'll say this too, Rob, me and you were saying prior to the season about your Rams that they weren't going to, me and you were kind of harping on they're not going to be that bad, but I didn't think they were going to be 5-2.
I didn't either. As a Rams fan, I didn't either. I also didn't expect the NFC East to be just complete garbage either, and we started off the year.
Yeah, that's another one. And then also another kind of surprise to me, or not a surprise or disappointment, is the Texans. I predicted them to miss the playoffs this year. I predicted them to, I believe, finish third in the division. But I didn't think they're going to be third place right now at a 1-6 record. I thought they would.
It's a fire down there, man. It's just falling apart so quickly.
Yeah, so those are probably the ones for me right now. But yeah, I'll do awards, even if I'll do the awards and my preview. I think last year I did an award only episode, but I can go longer next week if I need to. So next week's episode might be a long one, not a long one, but I'll quickly go over, where I stand on MVP and all that type of stuff before I dive into the previews next week. Let's see here. Let me pull back up. No questions came in, so let's go ahead and wrap this up, guys. I do want to thank everybody that tuned into this episode live. I always enjoy doing these live. It was weird. I was about to record it by myself, and it felt so awkward, so I was so happy my man Rob hopped on so we can get this out there for you guys. So I hope you enjoy the rest of the Week 8 games. Thank you for tuning in. Let's all go ahead and make sure, if you watch this episode, please hit that like button. Also, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, so that way when any of our shows go live and you can tune in. And if you ever miss an episode, you can always just come back and watch it later. You can always find me also on the Football Happy Hour. We go live around 9 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays. And then you can find me and Rob talking fantasy football Wednesdays around this time, that 10 to 11 hour. We usually go live where we talk about this week's fantasy football matchups, and we do a little recap on the previous week. And then if you ever have to miss an episode, if you're more of an audio listener, a podcast fan, go Google search Blitzalytics Podcast Network. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, you name it. Subscribe to us on there. That way you get the audio version whenever those are uploaded onto our podcast network. Other than that, check out the Blitzalytics Prospect Encyclopedia, blitzalytics.com/shop. You can follow me at Cody Talks NFL. I'm going to go ahead and head out, guys. You enjoy your weekend. Blitz out.
Thank you for watching Cody Talks NFL, presented by Blitzalytics.com. As always, hit that like and subscribe button and then hit that bell notification icon to stay up to date on all things football.